Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning, where you get your morning version of the Celtic news. The one and only Celtic channel that's been around for as long as I can remember. Anyway, tell me what year this top was at Celtic, and who was your favourite player that donned this top? And yes, it is an original and it still fits. Does yours still fit you? Big shout out to the guys yesterday. I will name check you in the next video once I go through the comments this morning after I've recorded this. Big shout out to the guys yesterday whose top from yesterday still fitted them. Does this one still fit you? Tell me your favourite player that donned the top. This top, and tell me the year in the comments, and make sure you give the video a thumbs up. I'm going to target 250 thumbs up this morning, as it does help with the algorithm, and pass it out to as many Celtic supporters as we can. Let's get into the Celtic news, because obviously after Barnaby's left Celtic, we've been talking for a long time now, the fact that we need to bring in somebody to replace Greg Taylor on the left side of the pitch. Do we have somebody in Mitchell Frame? Keep on trying to call him Michael for some reason. Does Mitchell Frame fit the bill? He's only 18-year-old, but does he have the kind of experience? Does the little dynamic player that Celtic already have, can he fill that position? In the long term, yes, possibly, but can we keep him at Celtic long enough? It's been suggested that Tottenham Hotspur has been sniffing around the player, and he's only had 16 Lowland League appearances this season, because he's been in and around the first team. He hasn't been a regular starter with the B team, but he has been in and around the first team. Can he displace the likes of Greg Taylor in the future? At this current time, probably not. But should Celtic, and I say yes, if he's good enough to be in the first team, get him in there, get him in the squad, get him in the matchday squad, especially towards the end of the season. I know that we're still everything to play for, and it's probably not the best season to try and blood in young players, but looking forward, we need these young players coming through, and we need them in and about the first team. Is Mitchell Frame good enough? Is he better than Alexandro Bernabe, who's now out on loan? Tell me that in the comments. I think we need to see more of the younger players coming through. Celtic managed to keep a hold of the defender, and I think going forward, we need to get these young players in and around the first team. Tell me what you think, because I've not seen enough of him. Bernabe's away out on loan. Bernabe won't be coming back to Celtic. He's out on loan to the end of the calendar year, which means the likes of Mitchell Frame should be doing their damnedest to get into that first team. And the manager has to say, if they're good enough, play them. It's as simple as that. Can he save us millions in the transfer market? Is he going to be good enough standards to have his backup going into the Champions League, if we get into the Champions League next season? Talking about players that are going to international duty, and Matt O'Reilly has missed out on a Denmark call-up. Matt O'Reilly's missed out on a Denmark call-up with their friendlies against Switzerland and the Faroe Islands. But the manager has said that he will still make the team for the Euros 2024 in Germany this summer, which looks like it's going to be a cracking tournament. Will Matt O'Reilly, if Matt O'Reilly obviously plays in the Euros, will that increase his transfer fee? Because let's face it, we all know that I think that Matt O'Reilly is probably going to be the one player that will leave Celtic this summer. We can all just speculate. Celtic did turn down a bid of 18 million from Atletico Madrid, and the fact is that they were told, Atletico Madrid were then told the price that they could pay if they wanted Matt O'Reilly, and they didn't come back to Celtic, which means that Celtic are open to offers of over 20 million plus for Matt O'Reilly, who cost us 1.5 million. So there's going to be a magnificent profit. I don't know if MK Dons are due any comeback, any future fee that Celtic may get. I'm not too sure of that, but the fact that Matt O'Reilly does well at the Euros, he will move in the summer. Celtic need to be proactive, because Rio Hatate has had the season from hell. Rio Hatate, who was our best midfielder by a long shot the two previous seasons. Matt O'Reilly, if he leaves and then Rio Hatate leaves, Celtic have got a massive rebuild job this summer. Because we're going to have to get a striker in, whether we like it or not. We're going to have to get a striker in, whether it be Adam Ida at some ridiculous money, or do we go and spend the money on a certain two strikers in Scotland? Tell me your thoughts in the comments on that. But we're definitely going to need to go out and get some kind of defender, because is Liam Scales really the type of defender that's going to excel us in the Champions League? Is he any better than Carl Starfelt, who left Celtic? The fact that Matt O'Reilly has been left out, and the manager has said, look, he's still going to be in the pool, the 26-man pool, for the main one, it is a bit demoralising for the player that if he does get left out, maybe that'll push him out Celtic's door even more, because he knows if he wants to play at international football, he has to be playing at a higher level on a week-to-week basis. And maybe that'll just say, look, I want to be playing at the highest level. Atletico Madrid came in, boss. If another offer does come in, I want to at least look at it. And I think it's going to be another difficult summer for Celtic. It's going to be another difficult summer when, in reality, it shouldn't have been. It should have been. Celtic were doing well under the succession planning, bringing in players before. But let's face it, the succession planning last summer was absolutely terrible. And one player that's feeling the frustrations is Gustav Lagerbielke. And he's been speaking to the Swedish media. And obviously yesterday's video put out via his agent, showing all the best parts of him playing for Celtic and his brief outings for Celtic this season. And he's done quite well. But the manager doesn't fancy him. He doesn't think he's out. He's been speaking to Sport Bladet in his homeland, and he spoke about a number of things. He's had no explanation from Brendan Rodgers why he's not been featuring. He's had no explanation at all from the manager why he's not been featured in the team. And Brendan's just going to say, look, I'm picking the best players for the team. The fact that he was offered an exit route out of Celtic, and that was then turned down because the one and only Cameron Carter-Vickers, who was injured then, is injured now, which is unbelievable. And he is pinning his hopes and still being able to make the squad for Euro 2024. Also, he spoke about, obviously, the derby games. He spoke about the good and the bad of life in Glasgow and being at Celtic, being a big club, especially when it comes to the audience and the stadium. And he talks about his good teammates. He's spoken about the fact that he has their trust and that everything is good. He's hoped to develop a bit more as a player, but the only one thing missing are Celtic repeating themselves here. There seems to be at least one player every season that isn't happy with the amount of game time that he gets at Celtic. And Gustav Lagerbielke is probably quite right in that, considering he's a fantastic young player. The last time this happened, the player was then sold. And in fact, the last couple of times this has happened, when you look at it, our big grumpy Greek, as I call him, he was then sold to America. And then there was another player, Haksabanovic, who was put out on loan, remember. He is still a Celtic player. He was put out on loan to Stoke City. Is it days numbered for Gustav Lagerbielke? I think he will be gone in the summer, which is a bit disappointing for me, because I thought he was going to be a fantastic little player for Celtic. What is going on behind the scenes at Celtic? Why are Celtic bringing in so many players and them not getting enough game time, and then spitting the dummy out? There seems to be a breakdown in communication. Brendan Rodgers, remember, at the start of the season said, yeah, I'd like to be friends with them. He was a different type of manager from Ange Postecoglou, who kept their distance from them, from the players. And Ange Postecoglou he didn't want to be best mates with them. He was their boss. He wanted them to do their best on the pitch. And then comes sweeping Brendan Rodgers saying, yeah, I've got a different way of looking at it. I want to be their friends. I want to talk to them. And to be fair, he does quite a good job of that. He did boast about the fact that he had the one and only Lil Abad around to his house a good few times, and sort of spoke about his ongoing situation. But when it comes to players that aren't getting game time, he doesn't need to be telling them anything. But if he's this good manager that is open to talking to the players and that, you would expect the players. And the fact that I'm talking about this is because Gustav has obviously went back to his native land, and he's been speaking about it in the media. Now, we've been through this before. We've been through this with Greek, who went to Instagram to complain about not getting enough game time. And then Haksabanovic, he did something similar, and he's been loaned out also, and which only means one thing for young Gustav Lagerbielke. It's he's on the Boating Lake, and Brendan Rodgers is the grumpy fucker at the side of the pit, and the side of the Boating Lake, and he's going, "Oh, your time's up. Get fucking in. Get off the fucking boat." Oh, I love that one. Anyway, another player at Celtic that is currently injured. Seems to be an ongoing thing this season, isn't it? The injury list has been, it's been horrendous. But the Honduras FA have confirmed the extent of Luis Palma's injury, as he has been called up. The Celtic winner is called up to play for Honduras in their upcoming Copa America qualifier against the one and only Costa Rica. Can anyone remember when Scotland played Costa Rica? It was a long, long time ago. He did miss out the Scottish Cup final, Scottish Cup quarter final over Livingston. He's expected to miss that, and he's expected to miss this week's game against St Johnstone. However, the Honduras FA have provided an update saying that he's suffering from a minor injury, but he expects to be back for international duty. They're expecting him to be back for international duty, and it is something minor. With this minor injury, he's been in talks with the national team doctor in conjunction with the Celtic doctor, and everything was positive about Lewis. And he's going to play in the match against Costa Rica. He is going to play in that match against Costa Rica. Fucking Costa Rica. Anyway, who cares? Jesus. Is Lewis Palmer hitting good form just now? I mean, well, he's been benched, hasn't he? Anyway, let's move on from that, because there is some news when it comes to Celtic players and the fact that we're getting new contracts. Now, the whole Rocco Vata thing has been going on all season. All season. It's been going on all season. And people are saying, is he actually that good a player? Is he actually that good a player? Considering he's not getting game time on the pitch anytime that he's been on the bench. And then there's a young boy, Kelly, that seems to be just sliding into that midfield quite the thing. He's definitely one for the future as young Kelly. But Rocco Vata has still not signed a new deal with Celtic. Has there been a situation where we all know that he hasn't agreed terms so far, but neither has Liam Scales. Liam Scales has been in talk with Celtic. His team have, and they've not come to an agreement with Celtic about a new. Is Liam? I mean, this is the conversation that we kind of had in yesterday's video. Is Liam Scales the top defender that we'll need at Celtic? He does have that little bit in him where, and he is still. Can you class him as being young now at the age that he's at? Does he have the experience at the top level that we really need at Celtic and that we've been used to over the years? And when you look back at some of the great defenders, I mean, if you look back, going back at least 20 years, we've had some fantastic defenders at Celtic. And is it doing Celtic an injustice saying that and taking away the fact that Celtic are parading him about as the big Irish lad that he is. But let's take away the personal side from it. Let's think about it as Celtic fans from wanting the best for Celtic. Is Liam Scales the best that we can get at Celtic? Is that the whole managed decline thing just hitting home? How far we've kind of came back as a squad and as a team? And is that kind of acceptable for Celtic? I don't think it is. I mean, Liam Scales is a fantastic player. But is he up there with the top defenders that we've had at Celtic over the last 10 to 15 years? A lot of people will say no. At the very best, he's good backup. He's good to have sitting on the bench, such as Welsh. But he's not. The player that was signed from Shamrock Rovers has just had his 23rd birthday. He's 23-year-old, and he's one of the lowest paid players at Celtic. Hence the reason that he's having his agents are having talks with Celtic, and they're saying, no, that's not good enough. It's not good enough what you're offering them. Obviously, he's came from Ireland, and Celtic have thought they can get the player on the cheap. And let's face it, Celtic thought they were probably going to sell him on and make just a little bit of money off him. And they thought he was going to go to Aberdeen, and that'd be his level. Is his team right to think that he should demand more money than what he gets? I definitely think he should be on the similar type of wages that the likes of Gustav Lagerbielke is on. And Gustav Lagerbielke is seemingly on 14 grand a week. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's talk about the one and only Daniel Kelly. Daniel Kelly he has only to the end of December with his contract. Celtic have been in talks with him also, and he's been speaking to Brendan Rodgers. He's a fantastic little prospect at Celtic, and he's one that I think that could go on to become a fantastic player. He's one that can go on and dominate that midfield, and you've got to remember, he's only 18 also, but he's shown in his stature and he's shown in games that he is ready for first-team football. Do not put him out on loan next season, Celtic. Fucking please don't ruin the young guy's Celtic career by saying, hey, he needs some game time. We're going to put him on to some little English team down in whatever league. Keep him at Celtic and let him progress at Celtic, bring him on, get his game time up, let him feel his way in, and let him just be the player that he wants to be at Celtic. That's the only issue that I've got with Celtic right now, is that we seem to be nurturing our youth players to a certain extent, and then we just let them go, and then we just deem them not good enough, and we go and buy £3 or £4 million players that are 20-year-old that are similar, when, how do you know that these young guys at Celtic could not be just as good as the ones that you're buying in? Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments section. I will see you tonight at 6 o'clock Celtic Park time for the nightly live where we can talk about everything Celtic. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, all around the world. Chuck ya la.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to